Hi everybody, welcome to Our Sinclair. I'm John.
And I'm Aaron.
And today we're going to be talking about ATV Simulator.
Yeah.
Now, if you look at did you take a second to look at the cassette insert of this?
I just saw the cover of it. I didn't actually look at the insert.
I think on the back of the cassette, it says, ATVs are huge in the States and soon to be here.
I wonder if that actually came to pass.
Well, this game was from '87.
Right.
And I will say that when I was a kid, ATVs, we never called them ATVs, first of all.
We called them
four-wheelers.
Four-wheelers, yeah.
Everyone
else in America calls them ATVs,
right.
but us, yeah.
Yeah. In West Virginia, they're four-wheelers.
Four-wheelers.
I wanted one so bad.
You did?
I wanted one so bad.
Because you don't seem to be like in something that involved danger.
Well, as a kid, I was different. I was less risk averse.
Did you get hurt a lot, and that's why you're like you are now?
Probably so. I went to my friend's house, and she lived over in Scott Depot, the wilds of Scott Depot.
Oh, yeah.
And her cousin had a four-wheeler.
Yeah.
And I rode this thing.
Yeah.
And I remember lying to my mom when I got home because I was so excited to tell her that I rode a four-wheeler, but I didn't want her, because she was, whenever I'd say I want a four-wheeler, it was the old Red Ryder BB gun. She's like, you'll die if you get a four-wheeler.
You'll break your back.
Yeah. And I was like, they had an extra helmet, so I rode a four-wheeler. There was no helmet.
No, you don't want a helmet, especially back in those days.
Right. But I was tearing through the fields.
Oh, so you rode it?
Yeah, it was so much fun. Did you ever ride a four-wheeler back in the day?
I've never ridden on a four-wheeler. Never. I've never ridden.
You know, it's a common practice for people that live in this very neighborhood, the neighborhood of Amigo Studios, to tear through our road on a four-wheeler late into the night.
I've seen four-wheelers on every road around us except the interstate. It's the only place on there. I mean, any other road,
you're just going to see
any
them.
Street, the suckers, they're like horses.
Yeah.
I've seen horses on those same roads too. So yeah, I think you're right. Tear through. And I'll tell you, we don't live out in the super sticks.
No.
Out there, that's how they get around. Four-wheeler, just right up in the woods. You just see suckers. I remember visiting Cabin Creek one time. It was my granny lived up there, and about 5 people just emerged from the woods on these things. There was no road. There was no path. These guys were out in the woods, just riding around.
Did your grandma know Jerry West?
My mom did.
Really?
Yeah. My mom knew him, yeah. It's funny you should mention that. They went to school together.
Wow.
Yeah, there you go. A little tidbit for you.
Yeah. Zeke from Cabin Creek.
Yeah. Is that what they call him?
Yeah.
Oh, my God. No one knows who Jerry West is, aside from
except for the fact that he's the logo of the NBA.
Well, yeah, but no, NBA is not. I guess people watch.
They're bigger than the NFL, man.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
The NFL's world famous. It's not like the NFL.
I mean the NBA.
Yeah.
Yeah. Jerry West is like a pretty big deal basketball player around here.
He's the logo of in the NBA. If you see the guy in white that's dribbling the basketball, he's from West Virginia, Cabin Creek. Look it up.
That's crazy. That's crazy to think about.
He's got to be the most famous person that's ever been from the state.
I had to think about that.
Chuck Yeager, probably second.
That'd be the one I would probably pick. I'd say, I don't know. I'd be close.
I guarantee you poll people, like you show them the NBA logo, they recognize that more than they recognize the face of Chuck Yeager.
But I couldn't tell you who the logo was. I mean, I've heard that, but I could have said that. I wouldn't know for sure. I'm not a big basketball guy, so I like the Globetrotters. That's about it.
That's true. They are a fine team.
But no, when it comes to four-wheeling, it's still super popular here. I wonder if it actually caught on in the UK or overseas.
It would be interesting to know if that came to pass. Perhaps you can leave us a comment to let us know how big ATVs got.
Duncan Style says most quad bikes are illegal on UK roads. Well, they're illegal here too. I mean, don't get me wrong.
Nobody cares. There's no rules in West Virginia. There's just suggestions.
Who's going to stop you? Nobody. That's who.
No, because you've got a rifle strapped across your back.
And I will say, but suckers do use them for farm stuff.
Yeah.
Or
there's lots of legit
conservation stuff like that. Yeah, mudding is one. Yeah.
Back roads are bogging up.
People get killed on them all the time.
Whenever you watch the news, I mean, WSAZ every night, it's like he was killed in an ATV. Because these things, they flip at the touch.
All the time.
Yeah.
Or you get hit by a car. That happens sometimes too.
Because you're on the road.
You're on the road. It's at night. It's not like they have big, huge headlights.
Right, and it's totally open. It's like riding a motorcycle.
Yeah.
So.
When you go up in the hollers, though, I saw you here up in the hollers, those things buzzing along.
You ever have anybody cruising by the mountain in a four-wheeler?
I know my buddy drove his motorcycle up Mud Mountain, and he said he would never do that in a million years ever again.
I rode up there in the minivan, and it was
too deadly. By the way, Mud Mountain's for sale. Did I mention that?
You haven't mentioned it on this show.
Mud Mountain is for sale.
If you are in the Charleston, West Virginia metro area, and you are looking for a desirable place in which to hang your hat, the former residence of Amigo Aaron is up for sale for the
it's a
low,
beauty.
low price of
10 large.
$10,000.
10 large. You get the whole side of the mountain.
Yeah.
It's all yours. And no lawn mowing either, I can tell you that.
You don't have to worry about people stealing your air conditioner. It's bolted into the
That's
window.
right. You know, come to think about it, an ATV probably would have done pretty well up there now that I think about it.
Well, you used to park your car down there at the foot of the mountain
Halfway
sometimes,
down,
right?
yeah,
Halfway down.
yeah.
So you could have parked an ATV and then ridden it up the rest of the way.
They would have stole that in less than a second.
Really?
That's not that people steal your ATV. Oh, yeah. That's steal everything.
This is how it is.
That's the way it is around
You
here.
need your own reality show called Life on the Mountain.
I don't live on the mountain now.
Well, back in the day, could you imagine if a camera crew followed you around?
Yeah, they get to see me in my underwear eating pizza and smoking cigars while I drank bourbon and watched Japanese pro wrestling at 4 a.m. Sounds like a great show to me.
I'd tune in. I'd watch
Book it.
Aaron, let's talk about this week's game, ATV Simulator.
ATV, now, I'd never played this, but this one has somewhat of a reputation, doesn't it? I mean, I'd actually heard of this one. Have you heard of this one before?
This is Pixels at Dawn. I remember him from way back saying this was one of his favorite games on the Specky, and it was in one of the many packs of games that we've received as mail from our from our fans from around the world.
So this one's over on your shelf right now?
I have an actual physical copy of ATV Simulator that I probably should have brought it over here to the table.
No forethought at all.
No.
So this game, of course, came out way back, excuse me, for the Specky in '87. This thing also got and also for the C64, this thing also got an Amstrad release. I wish I'd looked at that because I didn't find that out till today in '88. So there was an Amstrad release of this particular. I'd like be interested to see what it looks like, you know. And the C64 probably looked pretty good. I didn't look at it either. So this was published by Codemasters. And was worked on by several folks. You had Tim Miller. Now Tim Miller's name struck out for me because he worked on the sequel to Miner 2049, Bounty Bob Strikes Back.
Wonderful.
Did you ever play that game?
Oh man! If I played Bounty Bob
Listen,
Strikes
I didn't
Back.
know. I knew you'd played the first one, dude. Now, one thing all these people had in common is apparently these guys were these simulation masters. So James Wilson worked on this game. He worked on BMX Simulator 1 and 2, Jet Ski Simulator, Grand Prix Simulator.
Okay.
Wait, I'm not done.
Okay.
Jet Bike Simulator. I'm still not done, by the way. Pro BMX Simulator, Pro Ski Simulator. So you've got a lot of simulators in there.
Let me tell you something about, as somebody who's played some of these games on streams before, the word simulation is thrown around quite a bit on the spectrum.
Listen, now I'm going to give you the reason why.
Okay.
Okay? You're mocking it, and you should. It's funny. But in the early days of computers, simulators, there was a very high desire for simulators because the thought was, this is going to sound hokey, but it's true. I swear to you it's true. Computers were there to simulate real events. They simulate, and not in a comical way. Like, remember when we reviewed the tennis game for the Specky a while back? That was another one. Remember, this is as close as you can get to actual tennis. You know, or this is as close as you can get to, and that had it carried a lot more weight in those early days of computers. Now it seems sort of dopey, but so when you labeled something on the simulator, the thought was that would give the title a little more weight.
Right.
In my opinion.
Sure, absolutely. Whenever I see the word simulator next to a game, I want to play it because I want to know what it's like to do that thing.
Right, exactly. Now, you know, the third member of the team, we've mentioned Tim Miller and Jason Wilson. Third member of this team, the music man on this one. And I will say,
right?
That was David Whitaker. Now, David Whitaker has done a ton of music, as you'll know, because he worked on the Amiga. He did a ton of stuff. He did Shadow the Beast, Obliterator, Speedball. He did a lot of stuff. And C64 did a ton of stuff. And I will say, this game does not sound as a sound would normally on a Spectrum. I thought it actually had legitimate music in this game.
Yeah.
I mean, it was good. It was okay.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, normally we joke about the sound that comes out of this thing. This was probably the best music compilation or tune or whatever that I've heard on the Spectrum. Now, that much said, that's low praise because I turned this down pretty low when I
needed it almost immediately.
I wasn't expecting music, and so when I heard music, I was like, "Oh my gosh!" And then after a while, I'm like, "That's got to get down. I got to turn that sucker down." So I mean, still, I'm gonna give it credit because I thought it was pretty good. I thought it was real good actually. Now, getting back to it, this was made for the 48K. Now this game has some interesting gimmicks here, Boatster. 2-player play.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
Yeah.
I guess you didn't get to play a double game in this thing, did you?
I was solo. Flying solo, just like life.
Yeah. I'll tell Eep that you said that. See how that gets over. You've got a great control set up on this. You've got the redefinable keys, which I love. I actually played this in 2 different ways. I played with a stick or a gamepad and with the keys.
You've got to break yourself of this habit of only playing Spectrum games with the keyboard.
I play them how I feel is natural. And I can see a guy with a Spectrum. He didn't have a fancy cartridge with a gimmick on it. He's just got the little black number there, and he's going to work with his hand. That's what I do.
Okay.
I like the tactile pleasure. Of course, I don't have the actual Spectrum, so I don't get it. But still, I can pretend, all right? Don't burn down my bridge boat. So when this thing debuted, it was selling for £1.99.
Boy. That's a killer price.
Yeah, that's a low.
This debuted at £1.99.
That's what according to these 2 reports that I dealt up.
Okay.
That's a cheap deal.
Yeah.
So that's not too bad. Now, what do you do in ATV Simulator? You simulate riding an ATV.
It's like you're there.
Now, before we get into this game too far, I play a game on the Xbox and the PC called Trials.
Yes.
All right. Now, I have read that this game is very similar to a game I haven't played called Kickstart.
Yes.
Have you played Kickstart, Bo?
Yes.
You did play it.
I played it on the Atari.
Oh, okay. So now, are there similarities between
Yes.
the two?
Kickstart, your sprite is a lot smaller.
Okay.
So you can see a lot more of the board, but it's
Yeah.
the same general thing where you are traveling at a relatively low rate of speed,
Right.
and you're trying to negotiate this course of various height obstacles and going off ramps and things like that. Very similar. I would say that the if you look at the line of evolution, it would go Kickstart, and then ATV Simulator is somewhere in the middle between Kickstart and Trials.
Now, but Trials, I'm assuming the reason I brought that up is they had to have played this.
I mean,
Because-
if not this game, then Kickstart for sure.
Yeah, because this is very. When I started playing this, I almost felt at home. I still sucked, but I almost felt at home because it's very similar.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like an old friend.
What I
An
do
old friend
like
that
is
wants to kill you.
so basically you're a dude, and the first thing I like about this game is that there's a running start. You have to run to your ATV. That tickled me something fierce.
It is pretty funny.
Tickled me.
I would like to see that on more racing, like in a NASCAR race. Have all the drivers just hightail it.
You'd
for
be
their
all
cars.
of Bo and Luke Dukes. The people sliding across the hoods and
Man,
jumping through the window.
that's what the sport needs to give it a
book
shot in the arm.
Bo, you should be running NASCAR.
I know.
So once your poor transparent guy runs to his ATV, he gets on this sucker and it guns it. That's something else I like. Just fire that thing up. At the top of the screen is a speed a la track and field, a speed dial, or it's more like a line.
A gauge,
Yeah,
I believe.
gauge, thank you. And then you got a fuel gimmick, and then you got your time at the bottom,
Right.
and how much time you got left. That's all you need, right? This is another game, of course, since the game is split in half, you'd think I'd be whining about that. This is a la Lotus Esprit 1, where they did that same shtick where you just had like a blank screen. But I'm not gonna dock them.
No.
Because the sprites are big. You can see what's happening. There's plenty of screen. I don't get a problem with it. No, and so normally I would chastise a game for that, but this time it works. They pull it off. Plus you got 2 players, so if you want to do 2 doubles. So you hop on your motor scooter or your 4-wheeler. No one says motor scooter anymore, do they?
Well, especially when they're describing a 4-wheeler.
Yeah, you hop on your motorized ATV and you take off down the course. Now, this is not a game where you hit the throttle and just go as fast as you can.
No.
You'll be brutally murdered.
This is the opposite of that.
Unfortunately, that's my usual modus operandi. And even after playing Trials for years, I still cranked it up. Now, and you are faced with a series of obstacles on various tracks. You have basically your 4 directions, plus you have a jump button, all right, or jump for your guy / the ATV. So at certain points you can hit the button and your ATV will shoot up in the air, all right. There is a lot of meticulous, calculated work in terms of lifting and lowering the front of your vehicle to get over objects, just like Trials. This meticulous maneuvering, I was not very good at, and so I only made it. You've got 6 levels in this. I made it to the 4th level, which was the pyramids level.
That's exactly where I made it to.
And then and that was a miracle, the times I got there. So let's go over the levels of this. You've got your...
No, I take it back. I got past there.
Oh, okay, so you got
past
the Tropicana.
pyramids. Yeah, I got
So
the Tropicana.
you've got the first level is called sand duning. Self-explanatory.
I wish that they would have made it a little cooler. Sand duning, apostrophe.
Well, what do you want? You can't...
Because we'll look at the second level. What's the second level called?
Grass tracking.
Yeah. Grass tracking. What are you doing this weekend?
Grass tracking, yeah. So in the first level, actually the first level and the second level are pretty... The first level is not that obstacle heavy.
The main problem that I had with the first level is that there are several pyramid-shaped objects that are built out of large stones.
Yeah, they're just like big rocks.
Yeah, you can get hung up on those, sort of caught up in the geography or the geometry of the stones. One of the things that I wish that you could do in this game is that when you wreck, you hop off. You're thrown violently.
Thrown. I was gonna say hop off.
Yeah.
Your guy goes high into the sky.
Right. I wish that you could do more with the ATV off your bike. Like when I got hung up on those rocks, I wish the guy could get behind the ATV and just push it up and over, because I had such a hard time just freeing myself so I could get to a point where I could continue.
The funny thing, I love that aspect of it too, by the way. You have, when you get violently thrown off, unlike Trials, your guy has to run. Of course, in Trials, you're brutally murdered. In this, you have to sort of run back and get back on the ATV. Now, that's not easier sounding than it actually is, because you have to sort of line up, looking the same way as the ATV, but you sort of have to run behind it and then kind of do a quick turn and then kind of jump on. But there's something fun about jumping on an ATV.
I do. I like that aspect of the game.
But what can be difficult is when you wreck on a particularly bad area, and amazingly, I found all the worst possible areas, and then your ATV would be teetering. Sometimes I would just run out of time because I couldn't get back on the ATV.
Yeah.
Or I couldn't get to the ATV too. So anyway, sand duning, not so tough. Then you've got grass track, and there's a lot more higher obstacles than that, and obstacles that take you up real high, and then a big chunk will be missing. You've got to sort of get across the chunk. More difficult, but again, it's mostly handling the vehicle, not so much the actual obstacles that are really tough. You just have to, once you learn the pattern, you're okay. Then you get to the icebergs. That's the first time you really get to the difficult areas of where you actually have to get over a weird obstacle. In this case, there are some seals with like balls that are whacking them in here, but I managed to get past that one too. And it's just, when I say icebergs, just you're sort of underwater, like I guess ice water.
It's a weird sort of thing. You're not sure what the ground is.
And the background's white. I mean, these are the graphics you would come to expect. Your guy's color is whatever the background is. Then you go to the 4th level pyramids. The pyramids are tough. The obstacles are just really tough. It's just it's a tough level.
I truly believe I only got past it once, and I think it was mostly luck. I just had a lucky break.
So I had to watch the 5th and 6th levels, and these levels I got to talk about. So,
I got to the Tropicana level,
where I'm impressed.
And this was the introduction, the debut performance of the Birds of Doom.
If you've ever seen Birdemic, I don't know if how many people have seen this movie, but it's sort of like a cut rate version of Alfred Hitchcock's The Birds. These birds come straight from Birdemic. These big hovering scumbags. It's funny that this game, now this is something Trials doesn't have.
There's no birds in Trials.
Or weird, and there's more stuff to talk about that, but because on the Tropicana board, you've got your birds. Then you've also got to jump across these floating logs. And you've also got crocodiles. You're gonna, in the true James Bond live and let die fashion, you gotta drive. You ever seen that one? Bond runs across the backs of a bunch of crocodiles. And this one, you're driving across their backs. Much more dangerous, I guess, to run across them.
I don't know.
But the birds are the worst. But the thing that gets me in this level, and I don't get this. I mean, you've got a time limit. But I mean, the birds there's nothing you can do. They just come down and accost you.
Right.
And I don't know what in God's name is going on in the world where this would happen, but they don't ever go away.
They're here to stay.
After they accost you on that level, they come back for the 6th level, which is a swamp. The swamp level is just dismal. Like, why would you drive your ATV in this swamp? Because you've got the floating logs are back, plus the crocodiles, plus the birds, plus you've got swarms of insects that come down.
Well, it's a fitting final level for the game.
No. because you can't get away.
Where would you place your final level?
No, it's not the level I'm talking about. It's the fact that they have these floating obstacles that you can't avoid. Like, I don't know how you could possibly avoid them. You run right into them. And so your guys endlessly get knocked off, and you have to run, jump back on real quick. And I guess the only way to get past it is just to be super quick about getting back on your ATV and taking back off. Because, I mean, the obstacles are super thick.
Yeah, you really just have to, it becomes a time thing at that point.
But that much said, it's funny. I laughed my butt off watching whoever played that playthrough go through this. I mean, swarms of insects and crocodiles and stuff. We don't have crocodiles in West Virginia.
No, not
thankfully.
Often. Yeah.
Or alligators or whatever it is. Do we have crocodiles in America? I thought we had alligators. Is that what?
I think we've got alligators. They've got crocodiles in the Africa. I think South America.
Yeah. So there you go.
Yeah.
So I guess these are probably, I don't know where this game takes place.
Well,
but
we don't know that they're not alligators.
yeah, they could be in like the deepest parts of the jungle of Africa. We don't know. But they look pretty big. So normally you wouldn't drive your ATV over them. I'm sure
not often.
PETA would not be pleased with that aspect of it. Nevertheless, I like the game. I like the way that it looks. I mean, it's got the usual color issues that a Spectrum game has. But the coloring is the grasslands are green.
It's pleasant.
The desert's yellow. The snow is white. I mean, it's not that difficult. It's like rocket science. It's not like the game we played. Was it last week where just inexplicably the green part was Paperboy.
Yeah.
The green part was off the screen, and the rest of the screen just looked like transparent. No good. This was more fun than Paperboy.
The color design is much better in ATV Simulator.
Yeah, I agree. In fact, it's funny. I don't know. Maybe it's just we've played the Spectrum for a while, but I don't even think about it much until we talk about it. When I was playing it this week, I didn't even think much about it. What did you think of this one?
I had a real good time with this game. I like Trials too. I like these games that are sort of short bursts of action. The courses are all relatively short. I did find once I got to the birds, I realized that this game is just out for your blood.
He needs a revolver.
Yeah. You need to have some sort of projectile in this game.
I mean, if you're going to ride your bike in a swamp, you need to bring a gun or something.
Because, at the end of the day, like you said, when you get to these harder levels, it's not about having enough skill to get around the obstacles. It's having enough skill to jump off your bike and how fast can you jump back on so you can finish the race in the time allotted.
I agree. But I was not very good at this game. I could not and Trials was the same way. It takes you a while to grasp how the
Okay, let me ask you a
controls.
question. Did you read the docs?
No.
Okay, that's all that needs to be
Docs.
said. So the docs explain how you need to position your bike to get over these various things.
Oh, yeah?
Okay. So rule number 1 is you never want to land with your wheels pointing down. You land with your wheels pointing down, you're going to crash all the time.
All right.
Rule number 2 is that you've got to approach different height obstacles at different angles. Okay, so like what works for one obstacle may not work for all of them, and then it's just playing it over and over again to remember. Like at this one, I'm going to hit it at a 45, but this one it's got to be a 30. That sort of a deal. And it takes time. It takes practice. It takes dedication, and it takes real talent.
Well, hey, listen, I got almost as far as you did. Smart, but I never see that. So I looked up some reviews on this bad boy. It did pretty good. It did okay, not great. World of Spectrum 8.15. They're very generous. They're way more generous over there than they are even on Lemon. Crash only gave this 66%. They were not that impressed. Sinclair users 6 out of 10, same thing, and your Sinclair gave it 8 out of 10. They were a little kinder to it. Where do you think it would fall in that area there?
Whenever we think about I always think about the price.
Yeah.
Okay. This was £1.99.
Yeah, you're right. There, good point.
I got £2 worth of fun out of this game and some.
Oh yeah, man. Yeah.
And some.
I'm going to agree with you on that, dude. I mean, it was definitely worth $2.
Yeah. So as a budget title, to me, this is about as best as you can get. I think that with 2-player games, sitting with your buddy, watching them go. Of course, it's hot seat; it's not simultaneous, but that adds a ton of replay value. I think that the animations, they could have gone real lazy with the animation. When you wreck, they could have just had your sprite just go like, meh. But no, it shows your guy flailing around.
That's another reason why I'm sure the Trials guys play, because I mean, your guy wrecks spectacularly.
It's a ragdoll type
and you could
thing.
You could be getting mauled as you come across the finish line. It still counts. So it's also, this was a real hit in the Discord this week. People were posting pictures of their high scores and stuff. And some people were finishing the race with flair, which I enjoyed. Speaking of those guys, we got some user and listener reviews here. Our good buddy Pixels at Dawn, a tightly focused time trial game for 1 or 2 players, where perfecting your run and mastering the obstacles is paramount. Looks great, sounds okay, but it's challenging enough to keep you coming back again and again, assuming a vulture doesn't fly off with your bike, obviously, 9 out of 10. Those vultures, or where they could have been vultures. I didn't really think of what they were. I'm guessing turkey vultures around here. Graham W. Vebke, our good buddy, says this game had me comparing it to the Kickstart series, which is my preference here. However, this game is still decent. It is a little slow, but most annoying thing is getting unfairly stuck. On Tropicana, if you crash those crocodiles, it takes forever to get your ATV off again. And your ATV gets stuck behind obstacles less than half the height of your wheels. So your ATV really isn't an ATV. He's got a valid point there. ATVs generally can get out of anything. Enjoyable all the same, 7 out of 10. Oh, our good friend Chris Folds says a fun Kickstart clone with an incredibly cramped view window for the size of the characters. A few annoying traits such as your bike ending up on the top of the pyramid with nowhere to get to it, and those bloody birds distract from the enjoyment. And the time limits are especially harsh on later levels. I still enjoyed it though. 7 out of 10. And so sort of echoing what we said for the most part. Pretty fun. There can be moments where you kind of get screwed. And I don't care how good you are. If you get stuck in the wrong spot, you're going to be tough. It's going to be tough sailing to get back up to get your bike.
Absolutely, absolutely. We did get a new iTunes review, Aaron.
Oh, beautiful.
This one comes all the way to us from the United Kingdom. Okay? This is from Neash72. Who says, great podcast and really great to hear a USA perspective on the games of my youth. It's like discovering them all again. If you had a Specky back in the day, get listening now. So thank you, Niash, and we encourage all of you out there that enjoy the show to leave us a review on iTunes. iTunes is sort of the aggregator that all of the other podcatchers glean their recommendations from. So it really means a lot to us if you could leave us a review. And I also want to thank all of our supporters for this show. You guys really... Your support on Patreon really means a lot to us. It helps us keep this show going week after week. We have a new Patreon supporter this week,
sweet.
Aaron. A guy whose name is Cap'n Crispy.
Oh, wow. He's doubling up.
He's doubling up. He's supporting us on both Amigos and Our Sinclair.
Thank you, Cap'n.
Thank you, Cap'n. You know what they say about you and the Cap'n?
No.
You can make it happen.
Oh, who says that?
Me.
Is that from something?
It's from me.
Oh, wow. Well done.
I think it was also a Captain Crunch
yeah.
thing. Well, why didn't you say that when I
didn't know. And you should just take full credit for it. Maybe you should be writing jingles.
I should.
You shouldn't be singing them. That's for sure.
Well, I mostly perform. I'm a performer.
Oh, is that what that is?
They call it a vocalist. That's what I do.
Yeah.
I'd like to thank all of our fine supporters, our Sinclair supporters on Patreon: Cap'n Crispy, Laurent Giroux, Gary Heather, Eric Nelson, Harbonot, Graham W. Vebke, Frodo NL, Tapes from the Crypt, Pixels at Dawn, Chris Folds, Paul Harrington, and Christopher Hassel. And a special shout out to you Clive's Club members that chose this game for us this week.
Good choice.
I loved it.
I did too. I thought it was fun.
Yeah.
I think I got to get better at it, but I had a good time.
Yeah. I also want to thank all the fine folks that are hanging out with us live on the YouTube chat this week. We got Picard 2005, Edvin Helland, Retrobox Retroman Cave, John Mullins, Pixels at Dawn, Terror K. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with us. It's always a party live watching us. We record the show every Friday around 6-ish. We usually do Amigos before this show, and then we go right into Our Sinclair. If you could join us live on YouTube, it's a really fun time. Plus, you get to see all of the hidden banter sections between the show.
Oh, yeah. You're really missing out there.
So, guys, thanks as always for listening. Keep on playing the Spectrum. Until next week, rewind tape
and press play.